there from the time you kind of started seeing him play until now?
Changed?
I think he's different watching him this year.
Wow. I don't know, you probably could answer that better than I can. I think he's consciously thinking about what it is that we want to do that will allow us to be successful in the long run, and he's trying his darndest to buy into.
He was one of the few guys from last year's team that kind of stayed with you. As you guys kind of built a relationship, what kind of, I guess, instruction did you give him about the type of leadership you kind of wanted to see from him as he grew into this role?
You know, there's three players that can never have a bad day. It's the head coach, the point guard, and the best player on the team. And if you're one and the same, those other two, then you can't. And so every day he has to compete at a level that is without question to the rest of his team. And I think, you know, what I've seen from him from the moment I got here is he's got a tremendous work ethic. And, you know, because of his work ethic and because of both he and Ish's loyalty, taking him out to eat and stuff, I just told him, I said, my goal is to put a team together that will, you know, give him the opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament. His response was that, Coach, it doesn't matter if we have 6 freshmen out there with me. Kimba took a bunch of young guys to a national championship, and that was his response. And so I got to let him, the growth for him moving forward and continued growth is that to him to know that he's not out there with a bunch of freshmen, that he's got some other guys out there that are really good. And so when the game is on the line, it's not all on his shoulders. And so that's the growth process of the decision making going through. But he's been tremendous.
Coach, are you further along than you thought you would be as playing as a group through 6 games?
I would say that we are pretty good defensively, and so I was hoping like we'd be here where we're at defensively. I'm not pleased with where we are offensively. What I am pleased is that we have a lot of room for improvement. You know, it's not like we're not there and we don't have any room for improvement. So I try not to I didn't have speculations of where I wanted to be kind of thing. It was, let's just get better every day. And can we identify where we need to improve? And if we can identify it as a staff and they can embrace it as a team, then we're going to keep moving forward.
I know you talked about offense right there, but was there one area you wanted to attack as a team and kind of fix or improve upon the most when you got back from the Caymans?
Yeah, there are 2 things. Well, first of all, our turnover rate. We turned the ball over 25% of the time in the Caymans, and that means 1 out of every 4 trips down the court. We didn't give ourselves a chance to make a shot, or we retrieved 36% of our offensive rebounds misses. We didn't give ourselves a chance to retrieve the ball. So that's definitely an area we have to improve on. And then the other one is our ability to execute on underneath out of bounds plays.
What challenges does Butler bring?
They're balanced. They're very balanced. You got to guard all 5 guys that they put on the floor. And so we're going to have to guard our yard. Because if you can guard one-on-one, then you're not in rotations, and that really helps your defense. And so we're really going to have to, they run some Princeton stuff, some come together actions. They can play through their 5-man either on the block or at the elbow. And so that's going to pose us a problem.
You did not get the chance to do much tinkering with the non-conference schedule this year. You will in future seasons. You got a big week now with teams like Butler and Wichita State coming up. Do you want to see more teams like that on future non-conference schedules, or how do you want to mold that?
I think it's going to vary from year to year. Actually, with the portal, we have a chance to keep our roster in a way that that we have both experience and talent. So, you know, I want to play some really good Power 5 teams at home, not just at neutral sites. And so I'd like to schedule some home and homes with some teams so that our fans here get to see a really good team in the non-conference come in. And so, and put a schedule together that we were just talking about. We've had the, six or seven teams make the NCAA tournament in our league every year the last however many years, right? And the reason is because all the teams have done so well in the non-conference. We beat up on the other leagues, and so that's one of the things that we want to do is play teams from other conferences, show that the Big 12 is the best basketball conference in the country, and that way on Selection Sunday, we get the benefit of the doubt.
You talked about not having a whole lot of control over this year's schedule, but the way it has played out, has the schedule been pretty good for this particular team? Just, you've kind of been able to, I guess, take steps in competition so far?
I mean, either any way you look at it, it was, you just have to play who's in front of you, and you gotta, if we don't win the 1-point games or the 1-possession games, we're still headed in the right direction. It's a lot nicer to do it, learn from a win than a loss, but we're still heading in the right direction.
Can you explain what the value is of playing two really close games down there in the Caymans with obviously a high major opponent coming up in Butler and then Wichita State, but also looking forward more to just how close Big 12 games are?
Trust and confidence. We learn to trust each other, and we gain confidence in each other. And because they're new to me, but I'm new to them too. Our staff, we're all new to each other, and so it's something to know. Like when you sit down in the huddle and you look those guys in the eyes, they look you in the eyes, that they believe in what you're telling them, and I believe in them that they're going to go out and execute it and figure out a way.
You strike me as kind of a historian of the game. Is there something particularly exciting about getting to play in Hinkle Fieldhouse?
Yeah, we won 2 games there on our run to the national championship. So I like Hinkle Fieldhouse. I've also watched Hoosiers a bunch of times. And just think about this, right? Of all the really good programs in the state of Indiana, Butler is the only team that's ever played in back-to-back national championship games from the state of Indiana. And so it's really cool. Thad Matta, when I was at Baylor, one of our early years when he had Sullinger, we went up there. Perry was a freshman, JJ was a freshman, and we scrimmaged them at Ohio State. And, met. That was my first time meeting him. Coach Drew obviously knew him, and so I've always been a fan and admired what he's done with his programs.
Is it kind of odd for you? Going back to your time at Baylor, but you guys really haven't been at home that much. Take away the first 2 games of the season, you go to Caymans, and now you have to go to Butler. Feels like on Saturday you haven't played a home game in forever.
Yeah, but from the time we got here, I always talk to the guys about what it takes to win on the road, and our fans here give us superpowers, right? We've got incredible fans, and so it's you just have extra juice. But if you're gonna win, you've got to be able to take that on the road and generate it yourself. And so this is a great opportunity for us to go show that we've made some progress in how we can generate our own energy.
How do you feel like you guys did generate your own energy in the Caymans?
Oh, it was great. Our bench was unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. I challenged them to get bench warnings from the referees, and they did. And Baby actually one time ran out on the floor. We got to work on that. But no, I thought we did a good job of bringing energy. The LSU game, probably our worst start, right? But that was more credit to LSU than necessarily us. But I loved how we responded.
Coach, to follow up on Kellis's question, you said you wanted to play home and homes against other high major opponents. Those are becoming a little bit more popular with Gonzaga and Kentucky, or Kentucky and IU. Do you know or have any expectation of why home and homes haven't been very common in college basketball for a while?
Well, a lot of people don't want to play on somebody else's home court, and that's just the nature of it. If you don't, we have enough home and homes in conference to scale you up that if you can play someone at a neutral site, gives you probably a little better chance to win the game. And then there are promoters that put on events. Yeah, just all that TV games. So I don't know, but hopefully it's trending back the other way.
Technicals and flops both seem to be up this season, not just for you guys, but everywhere. How have you adjusted to that and are dealing with that as a coach?
I would, I think we have very smart players across the country, and they're gonna figure it out. If the refs are calling it, they're gonna adjust. I understand the taunting stuff. What I'd like to see is consistency in the taunting calls, because whether you tap your head or you turn and look at the bench or you do the little "he's too small" sign, they're all taunting, so they all got to be called. You can't say, well, one is more demeaning than the other. I just want consistency in the calls, and our guys will adapt as long as the refs are consistent. So, and they've been consistent with us. So.
So speaking of adjustments, it seemed like you guys, after struggling early against LSU, got on the defensive glass a little better. Was there any type of adjustments involved with that?
Nah, it was an energy level. Like, we had to match their intensity, their physicality, and for whatever reason, we didn't do our job in the first half, and in the second half, the guys took it upon themselves to do their job. They knew what they were supposed to do, and they did their job, and so it paid off.
So the end of first half, is that like just a clean philosophical approach for you guys? You want to go 2 for 1 if you can and prevent them, because I know
Yes.
I think you drug your feet, or try not to inbound the ball very quickly to
Yes.
give them.
Yeah, there are a few coaches who want to go 2 for 1, and we would like to do it, and we like to prevent the other team from being able to get that second shot also if we can.
Here's another Marquise question. When you went back, Coach, and rewatched the tape, specifically the final game of the Caymans, what specifically impressed you most about Marquise's performance?
His willingness to throw the ball to Keontae on the last play.
His motto is hard over height. How does he maybe exemplify that?
Man, that's just how he lives his life, like that is, like, I coached a kid named Pierre Jackson, and very similar. Just, it didn't matter how little he was always the biggest dude on the floor, and Keith has the ability to be the biggest guy on the floor, and it's because of what he believes in his heart, and his confidence and his hard work, and so that's I love him for that. And I say all the time, everybody's greatest strength is also their greatest weakness. That's why at the end of the game, when we called timeout, Huddle said, "This is what we're gonna run," and he went out there and ran it. Like, he didn't frown his face. He did what he needed to do to put our team in a situation to win the game, and it worked out.
Coach, I want to ask you about Desi, because obviously he got here a little bit later than the rest of the guys, but he seems like he's really taken to that role of coming off the bench. Is that kind of something that you had envisioned with him, or was that just something that happened and it's clicked?
I think just being real transparent, Desi would prefer to start, right? And but I love the fact that we can bring that kind of experience off the bench, and then we change gears when he comes in, and he can come in for either one of the guards or one of the wings, and we can play 3 guards. So I like that versatility, and for Desi's future and his career, for him to show that he can embrace being a guy who comes off the bench, because his next stop, whatever level it is, it's going to pay dividends for him, showing that he's the kind of guy who can embrace whatever role they give him and come off the bench and make it more valuable moving forward.
Talked about the competitive nature of your players. How does that manifest itself in practice?
Well, we try to make everything, really, really competitive, and that's why I'd say I'm not married to a starting lineup or to who's gonna play. Like, they earn it every day in practice, and so and it's, you have to. If you're not, I asked them this week to, you bring the energy, and we'll help with the execution, and and that's their job. Like we can't coach effort, as coaches, and so their competitive nature is what helps us to continue to get better every day.
Cam showed that he can score in bunches if he wants to, but when he isn't scoring, he's still doing things like getting rebounds, putting up assists. How nice is it to have a guy that is so talented scoring the basketball, but when things aren't going his way, he can find different positive ways to affect the game?
Well, it's only been recently that this phrase about a two-way player has come up, because like I know in football, like you have an offense and you have a defense and they're all on the field at different times, but in the game of basketball, like the same 5 dudes have to go up and down the floor, so everybody's always had to be a two-way player. And Cam is that's I mean, he's a basketball player. He defends, he rebounds, he can play on the offensive end, and 95% of the time you play the game without the ball in your hands. So what are you doing those other 95% of the time that you don't have the ball in your hand to contribute to winning? And that's what Cam's embraced, and that's who he is as a player, and that's why we were so excited about getting him here.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Hey,
Coach.